This is your pet. It has no idea how electricity works. It doesn't understand why the metal box in the kitchen gets hot. It can't explain why you disappear every morning and come back every evening smelling like other humans. It just knows that you do, and it waits. Your pet has a full life. It gets fed. It gets shelter. It gets medical care when something goes wrong. It plays when it wants to play. It sleeps when it wants to sleep. It is, by almost every measurable standard, taken care of. But this is you. You live in a house you pay someone else to occupy. Your food arrives in a box because you press something on a screen. You sleep in a bed built by people you've probably never met. When you get sick, you go to a doctor. And you feel a level of emotional attachment to your cat, your dog, your goldfish, your parrot. An attachment so strong that the global pet industry is now worth over $250 billion a year. Americans alone spend more on their pets annually than on children's toys and children's clothing. Combined, the pet care services industry has been growing at nearly double the rate of the child daycare industry for the better part of a decade. That is not the behavior of a species at the top of the chain. That is the behavior of a species being managed. So the question is, what if the animals aren't our pets? What if we're theirs? Let's start with dogs. The story we've been told goes like this. Early humans were strong, resourceful, and brilliant. They looked at a wild wolf and thought, I could use that. They tamed it, bred it, trained it, and created a loyal companion from scratch. We domesticated the dog. We were in control the whole time. Except that's probably not how it happened at all. The wolves literally chose us. Not the other way around. Certain wolves, the ones genetically wired to be calm around strangers rather than aggressive, started hanging around early human settlements. Not because we invited them. Because we were messy. We left scraps. We were an easy food source. And the wolves that were friendly enough to get close kept eating, kept surviving, and kept passing that friendliness on to their pups. We didn't reach out and grab the wolf. The wolf walked up to us, sat down, made eye contact, and waited. And we let it stay. Because something about those eyes was impossible to turn away from. Researchers studying the dog-human gaze have found that mutual eye contact between dogs and their owners triggers a surge of oxytocin in both species. The same bonding chemical that fires between a mother and her newborn. The dog learned to look at us the way no other animal does. Directly, warmly, with something that feels remarkably like need. And we have never fully recovered from it. And then something happened to us. Something measurable. We started hunting better because the dogs could track. We slept safer because they could hear things we couldn't. Our survival rate went up. Our group sizes grew. Some researchers argue that without the dog walking into our camps, the entire agricultural revolution might have looked different. We might not have even gotten there the same way. The dog didn't just become our companion. The dog shaped what we became. So again, who? Really domesticated who? Take a look at cats. They are running an entirely different operation, and they are not even subtle about it. Cats produce a sound researchers call a solicitation purr. It is a normal purr with a higher cry folded into the middle of it. That cry sits at almost the exact same frequency as a human baby. People who have never owned a cat in their life still feel a pull toward that sound. Something in us hears it and skips past thinking entirely and goes straight to action. Get up. Fix this. Right now. Then there is the parasite. A tiny organism that lives in cats, reproduces only inside cats, and according to multiple studies, is currently inside roughly 1 in 3 people on this planet. When this organism gets into a mice through contaminated food or water, something specific happens. The mouse's hardwired terror of cats, the instinct that keeps it alive, switches off. In its place, the mouse develops what researchers have described as a fatal attraction toward the smell of cat urine. The mouse doesn't run. It walks toward the cat. The cat catches the mouse. The organism completes its cycle. In humans, several peer-reviewed studies have found associations between carrying this organism and measurable changes in behavior. Slightly reduced reaction time, subtle changes in risk tolerance, and in some studies, differences in personality traits related to novelty seeking. The full picture is still being studied. Nobody is claiming the cat engineered any of this consciously. But what is not being contested is that 1/3 of the global human population is carrying something that only benefits cats. And over 1 billion people are voluntarily cleaning out their cat's litter box every single day. From a pure biology standpoint, cats are producing a sound precisely tuned to bypass human rational judgment, while a mechanism of unclear but documented effect has spread through a significant portion of humanity, all while the cat sits on your kitchen counter looking like it has absolutely nowhere to be. But the theory gets much bigger than cats and dogs. Cows, chickens, rabbits, goats. Before contact with humans, these animals existed in modest numbers in the wild, getting eaten, losing ground, surviving but not thriving. Then they cross paths with us. Chickens are now the most widespread bird on the planet, around 23 billion alive at any one moment. 3 chickens for every single person alive. Cows are the second most widespread large mammal on Earth after humans. Rabbits and goats sit right behind them. From just the numbers alone, these animals have achieved something no amount of teeth, speed, or claws could have pulled off. They covered the entire planet. And all it cost them was letting us think we were in charge. We feed them. We house them. We provide medical care. We make sure they keep reproducing. We built entire economies around keeping their numbers high. Humans plant the food. Humans build and clean the shelters. Humans handle the health checks. The cow did not build the barn. The chicken did not design the feeding system. We did all of that. And the animals that got us to do it are now among the most successful creatures in the entire 4-billion-year history of life on this planet. Before we get to the really interesting part, there is one more thing worth noting. We are the only species that built things with no clear survival reason. Every other animal builds exactly what it needs and nothing more. Birds build nests. Beavers build dams. Ants build colonies. All of it functional, enough and specific. Nature does not waste effort. And then there is us. We moved 2 million stone blocks, averaging 2.5 tons, each to build the pyramids. We etched the Nazca lines into a Peruvian desert. Images so large, drawn with such precision, that they only make full sense when seen from the air. From the air. At a time when no human could fly. The largest stretches over 9 kilometers. Archaeologists have spent decades trying to explain why anyone would do this, and the most honest answer they have arrived at is that they do not fully know. But if you wanted to mark your location for something looking down from very far above, the pyramids are exactly what you would build. The Nazca lines are exactly what you would draw. The obvious explanation for all of this is that humans are pattern-seeking animals who invented gods to cope with the terror of an indifferent universe. That we looked up at the sky, felt small and afraid, and built invisible parents to make the feeling manageable. That the dog chose us because we were a food source, not because it had a strategy. That the cat's purr evolved for reasons that have nothing to do with manipulating us. That explanation is probably right. But it doesn't fully account for what we look like at a biological level compared to every other species on this planet. And it doesn't account for what happened to our own bodies somewhere in our evolutionary history. Consider what a pet is functionally. A pet is a creature selectively created, through breeding, through environment, through sustained intervention over generations, to be compatible with a civilization it didn't evolve inside. A pet is often healthier than its wild counterpart. It rarely starves or gets taken by a predator. It lives longer on average. But it cannot fully survive without the system maintaining it. Pull the system away, and the animal struggles in ways its wild relatives do not. Now compare that to our closest genetic relatives. Chimpanzees share roughly 99% of our DNA. They live in the wild. They manage their own food, their own territory, their own social lives with no outside help. They are fully independent. They have been for millions of years. They are not becoming more dependent on external systems over time. We are not like this at all. A human child cannot survive on its own for the first decade of life. Longer than any other species on Earth, by a wide margin. We are born more helpless, for a longer stretch, than any comparable animal that has ever existed. A foal stands within an hour of being born. A human baby cannot lift its own head for months. We need more outside care to reach a functioning adulthood than anything else evolution has ever produced. And in 2014, researchers published findings showing that humans show clear signs of self-domestication. That somewhere along the line, we became calmer, more comfortable packed tightly in large groups, more tolerant of strangers in close proximity. The physical changes that came with this were appreciable. Smaller teeth, rounder faces, reduced brow ridges, less aggression, greater dependence on shared structures for individual survival, increased social bonding. These are the exact biological changes you see when you take a wolf and turn it into a dog. Every one of them, appearing in us too. The research described the parallel as striking. The changes are the same. The direction is the same. The timeline is compressed in ways that are difficult to account for through natural selection alone. Something made us easier to keep. Whether we did it to ourselves or not, is the part that remains open. So maybe we didn't domesticate animals. Maybe we just had a meeting about it and thought it went well. Maybe the dog walked in 15,000 years ago with a very specific skill set and an understanding of what buttons to push. Maybe it watched our faces, figured out how we respond to eye contact and a tilted head, and calibrated itself accordingly over thousands of generations until it became something no human could look at and stay cold toward. Maybe the cat developed a precise, acoustic tool for bypassing our rational judgment, tuned to the exact frequency that makes our brain skip past logic and go straight to action. Maybe every animal we thought we were managing was actually managing us, feeding off our infrastructure, riding our civilization like a current, going wherever we went and multiplying into billions while we built barns and called ourselves farmers. Maybe we're the ones who get named, get fed on a schedule, get taken to doctors who specialize in our particular kind of problem. Live inside structures we didn't design, doing work we were given, for reasons we tell ourselves are our own. Maybe domestication isn't something that happens to the weaker species. Maybe it happens to the one that's easiest to reprogram with affection. Or maybe not. Maybe we really are the dominant species. The ones who chose all of this. The ones who looked at the wolf and saw utility, looked at the cow and saw dinner, looked at the cat and saw something worth keeping around. Maybe we're right about who's in charge. But the cat is still watching you, right now, as you watch this video. And it looks very comfortable. And you made sure it was fed before you sat down.